The Nebra sky disk was liberated from the clutches of black marketeers, thanks largely to the dedication of this man. Archaeologist Harold Meller.
Gab es keinen Tag, an dem ich nicht mehrfach an die Himmelsscheibe dachte und nicht mehrfach überlegte, wie wir sie erlangen können.
2 years after its initial discovery, the mysterious bronze disc resurfaced. It came to Meller's attention when an acquaintance, the director of a museum in Berlin, was presented with a certain photograph.
If you display it in your museum, you will certainly have a lot of guests.
The visitor gave his name simply as Ahim.
You may purchase it at 1 million marks.
The problem is not the price, it's where you obtained it.
I found it by accident on a mountain in Saxony-Anhalt.
Don't you know excavation is prohibited over there? The remains underground belong to the German nation.
A few days later, Meller was summoned by the museum director.
Have a seat.
Okay, thanks.
He was shown the photo of the disc.
He left in a haze, leaving this picture, and he has never been back anymore.
Und von daher war ich von dem Bild überwältigt und wusste, es handelt sich hier, wenn echt, um einen der bedeutendsten Funde der Archäologie, wahrscheinlich um einen der Top 10 überhaupt.
From that day onward, Meller searched for the bronze disc, but to no avail. Until one day.
Hello, Meller speaking.
I received a picture of a bronze disc from the publisher of a journal titled Focus. They asked me to verify the authenticity of the disc. I wonder if it is the disc you were looking for.
The call was from a fellow researcher.
Hello, is that the police? Yes, I've got some information about that stolen bronze disc.
Die Zeitschrift Focus nannte die Täter nicht, aber die Täter meldeten sich wieder in Berlin und die Polizei kam dann den Tätern immer näher. Die Polizei wertete Telefongespräche aus und Ähnliches.
A fortnight later, Meller was able to meet with the person who had the disc.
I'm Harold Miller. I'm an archaeologist. I'm glad to meet you.
Nice to meet you. I had an expert verify the authenticity of the disc. However, I was surprised to learn that your friend wished to purchase it.
She gave her name as Hildegard. She was an art collector, she said.
Ihr Wunsch war, die Himmelsscheibe in einer Zeitschrift publiziert zu sehen, von Archäologen als Experten bestätigt zu sehen, um sie dann am schwarzen Markt wohl teuer verkaufen zu können.
I would like to research the disc. Could you kindly sell it to me?
Yeah, no problem. But because you're buying it for science, I'll let you have it for 700,000 marks.
Okay, yeah, could you let me look at it?
I can't show it to you here. But please come to Basel, Switzerland, and I'll exchange the disc for 700,000 marks.
Located at the Swiss borders with both France and Germany, Basel provided easy access and easy escape, making it attractive to black marketeers. When the German police requested assistance, Basel prosecutors decided to use Meller in a sting operation to send a message to all would-be black marketeers. Detective Peter Gill was in charge.
Und da haben wir uns natürlich vorbereitet und man hat ja den Eindruck, dass die Schweiz ein Ort ist, wo man einfach illegale Kunst umsetzen kann. Und wir haben auch durch diese Sicherstellung dieser Himmelsscheibe aufzeigen können, wie stark wir die Kunstkriminalität bekämpfen.
Meller got word from the sellers that they had taken a room at a hotel. When he arrived, he was greeted by Hildegard and a man he hadn't met before. The man was a hen who had initially shown the picture of the disc to that museum director. When Meller refused to go up to their room, they took him to a bar in the hotel's basement. The location for the sale had been changed on the spur of the moment, and there was no one in the bar who looked to Meller like plainclothes police.
Did you bring the 700,000 marks?
Yes, yes.
Actually, under police instructions, Meller was not carrying any money.
Show me the 700,000 marks.
I need to verify the authenticity of the disc, so I need you to show me the disc first.
Der Besitzer war ein älterer Herr, der hatte die Hand immer in so einer Ledertasche, sodass man den Eindruck hatte, da sei vielleicht eine Waffe drin, sodass ich mich nicht ganz komfortabel fühlte.
This sword was found with the disc. Can you use it to verify the authenticity of the disc?
Meller could not let this chance to recover the bronze disc slip through his fingers. To buy time until the police were ready to pounce, he played along with Hildegard's offer to test the sword. Was it authentic?
Yes.
I'm happy you think that.
Selbstverständlich kann man die Echtheit nicht am Kaffeeaustisch prüfen, aber es sollte nur ein Vorwand sein, ob die Objekte zu sehen.
Concerned that the two criminals might not have the disc with them, Meller forced their hand.
Can we do the transaction another day? Because you don't seem to have the disc.
I have the disc. Is this what you want?
Yes.
Just then,
Come on! Hold it!
Get off of me! I didn't do it!
I didn't do anything! Me too! All of you!
it turned out that almost all the bar's customers were plainclothes police, about 30 of them.
Ich wusste nicht, dass ich verhaftet werde, aber ich war sehr froh, dass man mich sehr schnell wieder freiließ. Und als ich fragte, warum ich auch verhaftet werde, sagte mir, das macht man immer so, weil man hätte schon aus Versehen die Falschen laufen lassen.
And so, after many vicissitudes, the bronze disc was recovered. Research showed that it was truly a unique artifact. Testimony by the black marketeers established the excavation site. It was near the small village of Nebra in the German state of Saxony-Anhalt. It's a tranquil farming area in what used to be part of East Germany. The mysterious bronze object was named after this nearby town. At 250 meters elevation, Mittelberg is the tallest hill in the area around Nebra. It was in the dense forest near the summit of that hill that the Nebra sky disk was unearthed. Nearby trees were felled and a thorough investigation conducted, but nothing similar to the sky disk was discovered. Further testimony by the traffickers described the disposition of objects as excavated. The disc was flanked by bronze swords and axes, and other artifacts buried along with it. Nothing like this bronze disc had ever been seen before. Some even doubted its authenticity.
Aber wir hatten noch keine so richtige Vorstellung. Wir haben das einfach abgewartet, bis wir den Fund bekommen, bis wir ihn analysieren können und vor allem, bis wir die Echtheit prüfen können.
The Rice-Engelhorn Museum in Mannheim, Germany. Here there is a specialized laboratory that can determine whether unearthed artifacts are genuine or not. Meller asked for the expert opinion of the lab's director, Ernst Pernicka. The latest technology is used to ascertain the composition of an object. Director Pernicka is absolutely confident that he would not miss a fake.
Ein wichtiger Hinweis für die Echtheit von Bronzeobjekten ist die Korrosionsschicht, ihre Zusammensetzung, aber auch ihr Gefüge.
Ancient bronze develops a blue-green film, or patina, on its surface. It is possible, however, to simulate this patina with a chemically induced oxidation. A special camera obtained this image of the crystals forming the patina on the Nebra sky disk. By comparison, this is the crystalline structure of an artificial patina. The longer a patina takes to form, the larger its crystals grow. The crystal size of the sky disk's patina proved that it was very old indeed. It was the real thing. Metallurgical analysis alone, however, could not determine the disk's exact age. What era did this object come from? Efforts to date the disk continued. One day, a clue came from a surprising source. In order to preserve the disk properly, it was thoroughly examined and partially restored. That included analysis of the methods used to fabricate it. The swords found with the disk were actually dismantled. From their hilts, small, thin chips fell out. What could they be? To find out, they were first heated in a test tube. The goal? To smell the fumes.
Und dann dachte ich, diesen Geruch, irgendwie kennst du so ein bisschen Weihrauch oder ein bisschen was anderes, aber auch, wenn man Birkenpech herstellt, was auch so ein prähistorischer Werkstoff ist, dann riecht es genauso. Und dann dachte ich, Moment, vielleicht ist es Birkenrinde. Dann bin ich zum Landeskriminalamt gefahren, Rasterelektronenmikroskop, und habe mir diese Stücke im Rasterelektronenmikroskop angeguckt. Moderne Birkenrindenstücke daneben, es ist genau das Gleiche.
Analysis showed the chips to be indeed white birch bark. Just slivers of plant matter, they were invaluable aids in dating the objects. Carbon-14 atoms, which occur in a fixed proportion in the atmosphere, are absorbed by living plants. But when the plants die, the carbon-14 atoms inside them decrease. The rate is such that they will decrease by approximately half every 5,730 years. So if carbon-14 is present in an object and can be assessed, the object can be dated. The white birch bark from the sword hilts was found to be 3,600 years old. This meant that the Nebra sky disk itself dated back some 3.5 millennia to 1600 BC.
Es war schon so außergewöhnlich, dass er so alt ist. Und ich wusste, dass er so alt sein muss, als ich die Fotos sah. Wenn die Funde zur Himmelsscheibe gehören, musste es alt sein.
3,600 years ago, the great river-based civilizations of Egypt, Mesopotamia, and the Indus were all flourishing. In Europe, no high-level civilization existed at the time, or so it was thought. It was, in Europe, the end of the Stone Age and the beginning of the Bronze Age. The disc must have been created by people who had only just acquired metalworking technology. The researchers proceeded with restoration of the Nebra sky disk. This CT scan reveals the disk's insides. The darker portions indicate corrosion. The patina acted as a protective film, so the metal is in relatively good shape. One area requiring restoration was the inlaid gold circle, a portion of which had ripped away. Fortunately, the missing bit was discovered at the excavation site, so experts were able to put it back in place. Analysis of the bronze also enabled them to visualize its pre-tarnished appearance. When the bronze in the disc was new, it had a coppery color. The gold decorations would not have stood out much. But what experts realized was that the bronze had then been subjected to special processing.
Man erhitzt so eine Bronze auf etwa 500 Grad bis zur dunklen Rotglut und das bedeutet, dass die Bronze schwarz wird. Sie verbrennt sozusagen. Und das Ergebnis ist eine schwarze Scheibe. Diese schwarze Scheibe ist hier dargestellt. Sie zeigt eigentlich einen sehr viel schöneren, sehr viel größeren Kontrast von Gold als zu Bronze. Und es zeigt wohl auch den Nachthimmel, weil die Scheibe soll ja den Sternenhimmel in der Nacht zeigen.
Researchers turned back the clock on 3,600 years to visualize the original appearance of the finished Nebra sky disk. On a dark disk, golden emblems of the moon and stars shone brightly. The disk beautifully captured key figures of the night sky. Over time, it also became apparent that these were no mere decorations. They were a way of encoding astronomical knowledge. Saxony-Anhalt. The German state in which the Nebra sky disk was discovered maintains a museum for prehistory in the city of Halle. Artifacts from ancient Europe are on display here. Since restoration, the Nebra sky disk has been kept here under strict security. It has been displayed in its own exhibition space. Many people have viewed it. In fact, as soon as it went on public display, the museum was inundated with visitors wanting a glimpse. Harald Meller, the archaeologist who was so instrumental in recovering the bronze disc, suspected that the moon and star emblems were not just design elements.
Es war vollkommen klar, dass die Archäoastronomie hier zur Entschlüsselung der Himmelsscheibe eine zentrale Rolle spielt. Es war auch klar, dass dieses Bild verschlüsselt war und es ist auch klar, dass dieses Rätsel nicht einfach zu lösen ist.
So Meller asked the opinion of astronomer Wolfhard Schlosser. As an expert on ancient astronomy, it took Schlosser only one look to note a feature of great interest. What caught Schlosser's attention was the broad gold arc on the rim, and the traces of a similar arc on the opposite side of the disk. Once there had been gold arcs on both sides.
Die
diese beiden Horizontbögen, die seitlichen Bögen, die zeigten, dass eben nicht nur die Sterne von Bedeutung waren, sondern eben auch der Lauf der Sonne. Denn die beiden Horizontbögen zeigen an ihren Endpunkten den Auf- und Untergangspunkt der Sonne zur Sommersonnenwende.
If diagonals are extended toward the disk's center from the tips of the arc on the left, they meet at an angle of 82 degrees. Schlosser believed this to be significant. The Nebra sky disk was found at the top of a densely forested hill called Middleburg. On its summit, a tall tower has been erected to commemorate the find. A curved disk in the ground beyond it marks the excavation site proper. The hole was filled with resin and is now well protected by this polished stainless steel disc. Schlosser thought that the location on this summit would explain the 82-degree angle on the sky disk. He ascertained the arc traced by the sun during the winter and summer solstices, as seen from the summit of Middleburg. At Nebra's high latitude, the sun's path on the winter solstice is low, and the day is short. On the summer solstice, however, the sun's path is high. From sunrise to sunset, the day lasts for 16 hours. The endpoints of the two arcs on the sky disk, thought Schlosser, might represent sunrise and sunset for the summer and winter solstices. And indeed, the actual angles, measured with a compass, are 82 degrees. The same as the sky disk.
Und dieser Winkel von 82 Grad ist der Winkel, den der Sonnenauf- und Sonnenaufgang zur Wintersonnenwende, zur Sommersonnenwende und den entsprechenden Untergang für die Breite dieses Gebietes markiert.
The Nebra sky disk thus indicated the winter and summer solstices at Middleburg. It is the world's most ancient astronomical disk. Ancient peoples used the solstices as seasonal markers. Other ruins were found near Nebra, serving a similar purpose. Surrounded by stout trees, this is known as the Gosek Circle. The circle has been dated back 6,600 years. That's 3 millennia older than the Nebra sky disk. The timber palisades are a recreation, but gaps in them point precisely to the endpoints of the sun's path on the winter and summer solstices. Standing in the center of the circle, one can foretell the advent of the seasons.
In der Lage waren oder den Leuten suggeriert haben, den Leuten vorgemacht haben, sie wären in der Lage sozusagen diese Kreisläufe zu kontrollieren, indem sie sagen, ab heute ist das neue Jahr, was beginnt, jetzt werden die Tage wieder länger.
From the air, it is clear that the Gosek Circle is as round as the Nebra sky disk. One also notes an 82-degree angle between the lines, connecting the endpoints of the sun's path on the two solstices, just like the Nebra sky disk. It was a gigantic set of guideposts to the seasons, transformed 3,000 years later into the mobile Nebra sky disk. A star chart, dramatically reduced in size. With that portability came new possibilities.
Also die Himmelsscheibe selber stellt ganz normales bäuerliches Wissen dar, was jeder Bauer wusste. Heute gibt es noch Bauernregeln überall in Europa und sicher auch woanders, wo also die Bauern nach dem Laub der Sonne oder den Sternen dann ihre jahreszeitlichen Aktivitäten einrichten. Das war bäuerliches Wissen. kein Wissen von wenigen Eliten oder Herrschern.
The Nebra sky disk is the oldest celestial chart in the world, and its apparently simple design concealed a high level of knowledge. Ralph Hansen examined the sky disk. Hansen was then at the Institute for History of Science, Mathematics, and Technology at the University of Hamburg. He delved into the mystery of the crescent moon pictured on the sky disk.
Und das haben wir hier vor uns. Wir haben ein sehr komplexes Wissen auf diesem Objekt, was uns zeigt, man hat hier einen Kalender geführt, der sehr komplex war.
In fulfilling that calendrical role, Hansen says, the sky disk's incorporation of a full moon and a crescent moon is of great significance. The phases of the moon had been used calendrically since time immemorial. The moon completes one revolution around the Earth in just under a month. For that reason, its shape, as seen from Earth, changes periodically. Since the moon could be seen by everybody, it was convenient to base a common calendar on it.
Aber wenn man zum Beispiel eine Landwirtschaft betreiben möchte und möchte sich nach einem Mondkalender richten, ist das Problem, dass ein Mondjahr 12 Mondmonate sind. Das ist 29,5 Tage mal 12, 354 Tage. Ein Mondjahr ist damit 11 Tage kürzer als ein Sonnenjahr.
The Earth completes one circuit around the Sun every 365 days. But it takes 29.5 days to go from new moon to full moon, and then on to the next new moon. So 12 full lunar months only add up to 354 solar days. That's 11 days short of a solar year. By the end of the next year, the discrepancy would be 22 days. After 3 years, it would be a 33-day deficit, about a whole month. The discrepancy between the lunar calendar and the actual seasons would only increase. Reconciling the solar and lunar periods required inserting an intercalary month about once every 3 years. Hansen discovered that knowledge of these intercalary months was encoded in the symbology of the sky disk. There were 32 stars scattered over the surface of the sky disk. He noticed in particular a unique cluster of 7 stars, hardly a random grouping. Ancient drawings have been discovered elsewhere with just such a cluster of 7 stars. They are the 7 sisters of the Pleiades. In the northern hemisphere, the Pleiades star cluster shines most visibly in winter, in the constellation Taurus. With the naked eye, one can detect only 5 to 7 stars, but actually, there are dozens of young stars in the cluster. In Nebra, it is visible from autumn to spring.
Die Frage ist jetzt, wie tue ich das? Nach mathematischen Regeln oder gucke ich am Himmel, wann es notwendig ist, es zu tun? Das wäre dann beobachtungsorientiert.
The sky disk used concrete symbols based on observation, such as the Pleiades and a crescent moon. The positions of the actual celestial objects in the sky indicated when to interpolate intercalary months. Starting in October, the Pleiades rise in the east after sundown, illuminating the night sky for half a year, until the following March. During that period, the moon, as it revolves around the Earth, approaches the Pleiades once a month. As the Earth revolves around the Sun, the location of that closest passage between the Moon and the Pleiades changes from month to month. The shape of the Moon in that position changes with it. A full moon in October, diminishing to a crescent moon in March. One thing that caught Hansen's attention was that the crescent moon on the Nebra sky disk is not the youngest visible moon. It's fatter, closer to a 4 or 5 day moon. Starting in October, with the full moon near the Pleiades, spring can be expected the month after the thinnest crescent moon appears in the same vicinity. But the next year, the crescent moon announcing the advent of spring will be somewhat fatter. And in the third year, it will be a substantial 4 or 5 day crescent moon. By the solar calendar, however, the month will still be February. Hansen's hypothesis is that the 4 or 5 day moon pictured on the sky disk indicates that when a crescent moon of that thickness approaches the Pleiades, an intercalary month should be interpolated.
Das heißt, dieses Bild, Mond, Sichel und Plejaden am Himmel im Frühlingsmonat, wenn ich das sehe, weiß ich, es ist gar nicht der Frühlingsmonat, ich bin noch Ende des Winters. Ich bin im Februar, ich muss einen Monat hinzufügen und dann bin ich wieder richtig im Kalender. Man liest also am Himmel an den Plejaden ab, welcher Mond steht dort. Bei einer schmalen Sichel ist es okay, bei einer dicken Sichel weiß ich, ein Monat muss hinzugeschaltet werden. Das ist diese alte babylonische Schaltregel und die finde ich auf der Himmelsscheibe wieder in der Kombination der dicken Sichel mit den Plejaden.
Babylon was a great center of ancient Mesopotamian civilization. A Babylonian cuneiform tablet on the stars and constellations discusses inserting an intercalary month based on the proximity of the crescent moon to the Pleiades. The Babylonian tablet was written around 600 BC. The emblems of the Nebra sky disk show a similar grasp of astronomical phenomena and a similar calendrical sophistication a millennium earlier.
Ich war nicht überrascht über die Sommer- und Wintersonnenwende, aber ich war sehr überrascht über die Schaltregel. Das war eine Komplexität, die ich nie erwartet hätte. Wir sind in einer Zeit, in der wir keine Schrift haben. Man konnte das Wissen nicht aufschreiben. Man konnte das Wissen aber bildlich darstellen. Und das Wissen über die Schaltregel bildlich darzustellen, ist eigentlich sehr, sehr schwierig.
There is no question that fabricating the disk required both a knowledge of astronomy and a high level of metalworking technology. How were the people of Nebra able to produce such an object 3,600 years ago? Ernst Pernicka, who had analyzed the sky disk's patina, also looked into the origins of its bronze. Analyzing the alloy's constituent metals, Pernicka and his staff identified even the most minute quantities of a range of substances. The combination and proportions of those substances act like a fingerprint to identify the alloy's origins.
Nachdem wir also Mitteleuropa als möglichen Herkunftsort eingegrenzt haben, Deutschland ausgeschlossen haben, bleibt eigentlich am wahrscheinlichsten der Alpenraum.
The result of chemical analysis of the copper was a match not with copper obtainable locally near Nebra, but with copper mined in the middle of the Austrian Alps. From that copper source to Nebra is 500 kilometers as the crow flies. The sky disk's copper was a long-distance import. This was an unexpected discovery. As for the origin of the gold, that produced another shock. A survey was conducted by Gregor Borg of the University of Halle-Wittenberg. Gold was typically obtained back then by panning in rivers, rather than through the shaft mining done to obtain copper. Relying on old records and other data, Borg sampled gold deposits and sediments all over Europe. But the gold in most such locations has by now been exhausted. Even samples are hard to come by.
Auch wenn es ganz winzig klein ist, haben wir hier tatsächlich ein Mikronugget Gold.
The gold used in the Nebra sky disk amounted to about 50 grams altogether, equivalent to just a few nuggets. But even in those days, it would have been extremely difficult to scrape together so much of such a precious substance.
In verschiedenen Bereichen von Europa, nahe zum Fundort der Himmelscheibe, auch weiter entfernt, insgesamt etwa 300 oder 350 Goldvorkommen beprobt und untersucht.
But none of the gold was a match. Having almost run out of possibilities, the research seemed to be coming to a dead end. 6 years later, Borg finally found some gold with a similar chemical profile. It was on the peninsula of Cornwall, in England. That's more than 1,000 kilometers from Nebra. The River Carnon flows through Cornwall for about 10 kilometers. In the Bronze Age, it was widely known as a gold-producing area. The gold in the Nebra sky disk was specially imported from this faraway location. One of Cornwall's remarkable sights is a strange rock arrangement on a moor. It's a set of 3 circles made with giant stones. They were used, it is thought, to track the movements of the sun, and thus to tell time and follow the seasons. Perhaps by coincidence, they date from very much the same period as the Nebra sky disk, about 1500 BC. Why was Cornwall's gold taken across the ocean to faraway Nebra? And why were the disks gold and copper obtained from different sources? Bert Zich is an expert in ancient European history. He tried to solve the mystery of why the Nebra sky disk incorporated metals from such disparate locations.
Diese Region ist prädestiniert für Pflanzenbau, aufgrund der besonderen Bodenverhältnisse, Lössböden und so weiter. Weniger wohl Tierhaltung, aber Pflanzen auf alle Fälle mit sehr guten Erträgen. Es ist eine bäuerliche Kultur, die also produzierend ist und damit natürlich auch dann freisetzt für andere Tätigkeiten. Man braucht Werkzeuge, man braucht diverse Gerätschaften, um diese Produktion leisten zu können. Und da ist das Metall natürlich sehr willkommen. Das Metall ist eigentlich der Kulturgeber schlechthin, der den Wert der Kultur ausmacht.
Apart from agricultural produce, Nebra has one other major local industry. This white mountain is a site for mining potassium chloride, a kind of salt. Long ago, the Nebra area had been under the sea. For that reason, high-quality salt was available in abundance. And in the Bronze Age, salt was as vitally important as gold. 3,600 years ago, people got what they needed by bartering. Gold and copper were traded and retraded, making their way to Nebra. These high-value metals were brought to Nebra to be traded for high-quality salt and other foodstuffs. But transactions were not limited to things. No doubt knowledge was exchanged as well. Certainly, astronomical knowledge would have been highly prized by an agricultural people. The Nebra sky disk emerged when and where it did, thanks to ancient trading practices.
Nun, wir haben es vor 4000 Jahren bereits in Europa mit weitreichenden Netzwerken zu tun. In dieser Region haben wir fast keine Rohstoffe, aber wir haben Know-how. Ganz entscheidend.
From England in the west to as far as Egypt in the south, trade thrived in ancient Europe. That trade gave birth to a flourishing civilization. The Nebra sky disk constitutes proof of this hitherto unknown civilization. The sky disk was found just 10 centimeters below the surface of the Earth.
Hortfunde werden üblicherweise in Tälern versteckt, an Flussläufen, in Mooren und so weiter. Auf einer Bergkuppe eigentlich nicht. Das ist die große Ausnahme.
This is the grave of one of the leaders of that era. A number of precious items were buried next to the body. Sword blades, axe heads, and other items were buried there in pairs. Similar mortuary items were buried next to the sky disk as well. 2 axes, 2 swords, and 2 spiral armlets. The sky disk had not simply been buried in the ground. It had been interred in ritual fashion, as if it had been some august personage. It is also possible that some better sky disk had been created, rendering this one obsolete. Some scholars speculate that even an obsolete disk could still have been offered up to the gods in gratitude, but there has been no final answer here.
Niemand hätte sich so eine Himmelsscheibe ausdenken können, sondern die ganz großen Funde der Menschheitsgeschichte überraschen uns immer dadurch, dass wir unsere Vorgänger, die prähistorischen Menschen, dramatisch unterschätzt haben. Niemand hätte es für möglich gehalten, dass so ein Bild mit solch einer Bedeutung, in so einer Schlichtheit und Eleganz gefertigt wird.
In June of 2013, the Nebra sky disk was inscribed on UNESCO's Memory of the World Registry of Documentary Heritage Objects. Deciphering the code of its complex symbology continues. That arc that so resembles a smile, what does it signify? And what about the total of 32 stars pictured on the disk? What do they mean? 3,600 years ago, the people gazing at the Pleiades and the crescent moon discovered marvelous laws of the cosmos. Inscribed symbolically on this small disk, that precious knowledge could be shared by a broad group of people. When the Nebra sky disk was buried, it was lost to history. But the knowledge it represents survived and spread around the world. That knowledge lives on even today, transcending time.